Hello and welcome to another video. In this one we're going to talk about PTS Session 2 for Skill Tree, the economy of it. How much are things, what does it compare to the last system, and what does it compare to live? And just like in the previous video I made around this kind of topic, I'm going to set a couple ground rules and terms that I'll be using. Under the current system, to fully master a mech, it's a little weird. To get to Elite, you have to get 3 basics. To get to Master, you have to get 3 elites. But what you need for Basic and Elite is different. For Basic, you need 3 variants within a specific chassis, such as, say, Timberwolves. Where to go from Elite to Master, you need 3 from a weight class, which Timberwolf is a heavy. So you need 3 heavies with elites fully unlocked, and not 3 Timberwolves. This is interesting in the fact that to fully master just one mech from Basic Elite Master, it's 57,250 experience. The first time an account has to master a mech, it not only has to master, well, it has to elite the one that you want to take to master, but also has to elite 2 other heavies, or 2 other lights, or mediums, or assaults, or whatever you're taking. So the first time you need 2 elites and a master, that's 128,750 experience. Then subsequently, because you've already unlocked that weight class for mastery, you just need to take 2 to basic and then the one all the way to master, so I call it a subsequent master, is 85,750 experience. Just getting those numbers out there because I'm going to be referencing them in terms of what the system is like compared to those levels of effort. The amount of times you're going to have to play the mech, the amount of experience you have to gain. In the first test session, there still is 91 levels that you can buy in the skill tree, and they cost 100,000 C-bills for 1,500 XP. That was 9.1 million and 136,500 XP. This compared pretty closely, a little bit higher, to a first-time master, where you had to take 2 to elite and 1 to master. So I would be like, oh yeah, I can understand. That's, if you're a first-time account, that's how much effort you need to put in to master a single mech. It is a little high. I would like that to come down, and it did. In the current test, we have 60,000 C-bills and 800 XP per node. That means it's a total of 5,460,000 and 72,800 experience. And that 72,000 is actually lower than a subsequent master, where you would have to take 2 mechs to basic and 1 mech to mastery. So it's actually less overall effort than the current system in terms of mastering out one particular mech. So if you just wanted, just say, the Raven 3L, it's obviously the best Raven. I mean, unless you want to do the Boom Chicken or something like that. But I've done this on one of my free-to-plays. I just wanted the Raven 3L, but I had to buy the other 2, and I had to play the other 2, and so I could fully equip my Raven 3L. This is actually going to be less work than doing that. So that's good. The cost reduction is 40% less. It's 5.46 million compared to 9.1 million. Some people are still going to complain of the fact that it costs C-bills at all, because they're like, it's an XP system now, I have it an XP system in the future. It's really difficult to talk to those guys, because it's like, yeah, I can get it, I can understand, but they are taking an XP system and a C-bill system, and they're combining it to XP and C-bills. So, I don't know, the 5.46 million isn't that expensive, considering the amount of bonuses you can get from it is worth several million. Like, if you have the 2 mech modules of radar depth and seismic sensor, if you go for those, and then 2 weapon modules, say like a range and a cooldown, that'd be 18 million. So if you can get those bonuses out of a 5.46 million investment, it's not that bad comparatively. But let's move on from there. We're going to go to what it costs to get back the current bonuses that you enjoy under the current skill tree. So as of now, you have acceleration, deceleration, twist speed, arm speed, turn speed, all these different things from the current skill tree. Now, like, you have hard break and fast fire and cool run and all that kind of stuff. What does it take to get back to those levels of performances? Well, in the first PTS, it took 54 nodes, and with their higher costs, that was 81,000 experience and 5.4 million experience. Interesting to note, the amount of effort it would take to get back just the current skill quirks from the skill tree is the same sort of cost as it is to do the entire skill tree now, with the reduction in costs. So that's kind of cool. Under the current system, the new PTS, there's actually a couple things that have been removed completely, which is really interesting. Arm speed, which, like, no one ever really needs because arms are really fast in the game anyway. It is just removed from the nodes you need to get to get these skill quirks back. So it actually reduces the amount of nodes that you need to take in order to get these things. It reduces it down to 45 nodes from 54 nodes, which is really nice. Not only is it less nodes, but it's also less cost per node. So it's only 36,000 experience, or 2.7 million, which that's pretty cheap comparatively. Like, it's the less cost, less experience than fully mastering your mech previously, because fully mastering under the current system, just that one mech is 57,250. This is 36,000, so it's less. And then 2.7 million is basically the cost of a weapon module right now, which is not that bad. If you know what you're doing in the game, you can make 3 million in a good night of playing if you have some boosts on and you play some good modes. If for a more casual player, it may take a little bit longer for them to put that together, but it's not that bad from my perspective. And of course, I got heroes and premium time like crazy, so I may be a little bit of a 1%er in that sense. But yeah, it's cheaper and it's easier. There's less nodes to buy to get back those specific bonuses, and they were close as you could be. Some of them were off by just like down 1% or up 2% from the previous values, but it's as close as I could physically get it. So yeah, much cheaper there. And there's also the discussion of the different bonuses, such as like a seismic sensor module in the past cost 6 million C-bills and was a one-time purchase of 17,500 experience. Like, what does that cost now to get that equivalent power? Under the first PTS, it was 12 nodes. It cost 1.5 million experience and 18,000 1.5 million experience, 1.5 million C-bills and 18,000 experience every time. So the experience cost is vastly higher, even for just getting it back on one mech. But then for the amount of C-bills it would be, if you had a seismic sensor beforehand and you got that refund, you would be able to get seismic sensor, because there's the equivalency, on 4 different mechs, because you would have that C-bills to use. The new system, because things are cheaper, the node count for all of these is exactly the same, so still 12 nodes, but now it only costs 720,000 C-bills and 9,600 experience. So much less experience, much easier to do it there. You are able to put on seismic equivalency into 8 mechs, comparatively to 4 with the old system and 1 with the current system. Radar Derp is a 6 million C-bill item with 15,000 experience as a one-time purchase. Takes 16 nodes under the old system for 1.6 million and 24,000. This has been reduced to 960,000 and 12,800 experience. So a lot cheaper in CBIL costs. You can now put radar derp equivalency onto 6.25 mechs for each radar derp that you have purchased previously. ECM is still 13 nodes. It now costs 780,000 CBILs, down from the previous PTS at 1.3 million, and 10,400 experience, down from 19,000 experience. So cheaper there as well. There's no equivalency for this one because currently ECM doesn't require these skill nodes in order to be the max effectiveness, which is something that I think is a little annoying. But target decay is actually ridiculously cheap comparatively to what its live stats are. On live, it's 6 million CBILs and 12,500 experience one-time purchase. The first PTS had it at 500,000, which allowed you to put it on like equivalency on 12 mechs. That's amazing. And 7,500 experience each, where this current PTS has it at only 240,000. 240,000. You can put it on 25 mechs. So if you had a single target decay on your live account, you can have 25 mechs with that target decay equivalency and power, and only 3,200 experience, which, hey, that is like one good match. Like one good match and you get your first win of the day bonus, bam, you've got enough to buy those 4 nodes that you need to get target decay at plus 1.4 seconds. But yeah, that's my various numbers, and I'm just doing this as kind of a radio show. In the background, you should probably be seeing all sorts of random gameplay footage that I recorded during my testing on the server. But overall, what are my thoughts on the costs? I think the costs are starting to get into the reasonable section. I think we could go maybe a bit lower, and a little bit of my sort of like, why isn't it symmetrical, or why isn't it even sort of thing. It's like, why is it 91 levels? Why couldn't it be like 50,000 per node at 100 levels? There would be a clean 5 million, and we'd have 100 points, and we could say to each other like, oh yeah, that mech is 54 points, so it's 54% done. You know what I mean? We just feel more even. Make the spreadsheet part of my brain happy. But anyway. But really it comes down to the discussion of how much do we invest into a single mech? Because I think with the old system, they encouraged Pokemech. You would want to get the packages that had 3 to 5 to 6, depending on whether or not you wanted the standard pack that had 3, the reinforcements that made it up to 5, and then you get the hero that's 6 of a specific chassis, and you wanted to get them all because they all had different things you could do, and it was all pretty easy to XP them. And then if you wanted to, you can swap those modules around. You got a lot of mobility in your purchases there, so you can move them around, don't have to worry about rebuying them unless you're lazy, or you want to put together a drop deck, in which case you only really need like 1 set for each of your 4 in a drop deck, and then maybe 1 set to bounce around for a quick play mech. So you only need really 5 sets if you are even trying to spend a whole bunch, where some people would just have that maybe 1 set, 1 radar depth, 1 seismic sensor sort of thing. But people are going to have these situations where the previous system encouraged Pokemeching because you could have a lot of mobility with your purchases. You could swap modules. The XP costs were actually quite low. They're pretty easy to XP a mech out in a night of playing, or just like a night or two. Over the weekend, you could like redo some of your mechs. But under the new system, it's going to be focusing on less quantity of mechs. It's going to be, you have your smaller amount of mechs that you put more money into each mech. As far as I can tell, this is going to help new players in the sense that, say, to create a drop deck of, say, 3 Ebon Jaguars and a Shadowcat. To get that Shadowcat fully mastered out, you would have to purchase 2 other Shadowcats and play them and spend all this time and money on them. And then you would have to spend your module money on those Ebon Jags and the Shadowcat in order to get like 18 million C-bills per thing and all that stuff. To get fully mastered out set of 4 mechs to go into faction play is actually going to be cheaper for both XP and C-bills under the current numbers. But what's not going to be cheaper is the players who currently have like 100, 200, 300 mechs. They are going to just have so many mechs, they're not going to be able to fill them out. And I'm not sure how to fix that problem, because there's been people throwing around like, hey, for each mech that I have, you should just give me the amount of C-bills I need in order to master it out. So basically, if they don't get back the money from their module refunds, PGI should just give them 5.4 million for each mech beyond that. And there are other people saying, well, you chose to not spend money on your modules and buy more mechs, where I spent money on modules and every single one of my mechs moduled out, and I'm going to get a refund, I'm going to have enough money to pay out all my mechs, and then I'm going to have surplus. Why should you get free money because, like, you spent it in a certain way? And I can see both of those sides. It's like, there isn't, like, really one that's valid and one that isn't. It just starts getting difficult. We have to just basically decide this is going to be a reasonable cost, and a person who has Pokémech is going to have a little bit of a detriment. They're not going to be able to fully master out every single one of their mechs. And a person who has not and has bought modules on basically everything, they're going to be benefit from this system, because a lot of their money is going to be given back to them that was tied up in all these modules that had mobility. You could move them, but they chose not to. But one last thing is, for a lot of those people that have like the 100, 200, 300 mechs, how many of them do they actually run? Like, this is a serious question. I have like 100 and something. I am not going to be modulating out, or in the sense of mastering out, all of them under this new system. I'm going to go to like the 20 that I run, I'm going to master them, and then if I choose to play another one in the future, yeah, I'll go master it. But I bet after like 6 months or a year of the new system, I'm going to still have mechs that I haven't driven yet, and that I haven't mastered out. So I wonder if those people that have those many mechs will be running every single one of those mechs within the next year. Be interesting to check in with them. Be like, hey, have you actually needed to master out every single mech? No? Okay. Or yes. That'd be interesting if it was a yes. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult one to figure out. But if anything out of this, tiny bit more down with those C-bills, maybe about up to 50,000. Those numbers seem good. And give us like 100 levels at 50,000. I'd like to see that, like a nice clean 5 million. But that'll be it for this episode, this kind of rant. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.